Dragon Ball GT Top 10 Best Fights. Few anime sequels are as universally reviled as Dragon Ball GT, and with good reason. Toei produced a follow-up to a story that had ended quite literally after it closed out its 10-year run. Instead of honoring the Dragon Ball manga's ending, Dragon Ball Z immediately transitions into Dragon Ball GT, robbing the former of the finality present in both the Majuub arc and End of Z. For as disliked as Dragon Ball GT is, it's not a complete disaster. GT may be no Dragon Ball Z, but it's still home to some of the better fights in the series. At the end of the day, Dragon Ball GT is still an anime made by the studio that adapted Dragon Ball. It stands to reason that at least a few fights would be worth watching. Number 10. Goku Vs Ledgic. It's easy to write off the first quarter of Dragon Ball GT for being derivative of the original series, but the hunt for the Black Star Dragon Balls is a charming adventure with more highs than lows when it comes down to it, although still quite a few lows. This early portion of DBGT is arguably at its best during Goku's fight with Ledgic. Between the fluid animation and flashy fight choreography, Goku vs Ledgic is the first great fight in Dragon Ball GT. There's something charming about seeing Kid Goku fight like an adult, complete with tapping into Super Saiyan. Ledgic's one fight against Goku is so memorable, the fact he doesn't end up contributing to the universal Genki Dama at the end of the series is nothing short of disappointing. Number 9. Majuub vs Baby Vegeta. Considering Dragon Ball Z quite literally ends with Goku flying off to train Ub, all Dragon Ball GT had to do was incorporate Ub into the main cast. Instead, he's tossed aside in the first episode and left in flux until the story comes back to planet Earth. Even then, Ub ends up staying in the background for most of the plot. If nothing else, the baby arc does try to give Ub substantial content in the back half. After merging with Majin Buu and becoming Majuub, he goes on to fight Baby Vegeta in a well-choreographed fight that really highlights how wasted Ub was. At his best, he contributes to one of Dragon Ball GT's best fights and reconnects with his mystical origins. It's just a shame Dragon Ball GT does little with Ub otherwise. Number 8. Super Saiyan for Gogeta vs Omega Shenron. Gogeta's fight against Omega has some narrative problems, mainly the fact that Gogeta ends up wasting all his time without having so much as a backup plan, but the battle itself is as creative as it is well animated. Gogeta's aura is one of the most mesmerizing design choices to come out of GT, and watching him deliver a Vegeta-esque beatdown onto Omega makes for a nice change of pace. Gogeta's diffused on a rather underwhelming note, doubly disappointing because of how much build-up the fusion is given, but it at least results in some of the best animation in Dragon Ball GT. Number 7. Goku and Vegeta vs Omega Shenron. For as exciting as it is to see Gogeta again, and in Super Saiyan for no less, the real highlight of the Evil Dragons arc is Goku and Vegeta teaming up to fight Omega together. They're ultimately forced to fuse, but this team effort is not only a highlight of their arc, but Goku and Vegeta's relationship in Dragon Ball GT. Vegeta's put all his Goku-related ego away as of GT, which means he works alongside Goku as a genuine ally. The fight choreography shows the two in sync, working together, and putting Super Saiyan 4 to the test as they give Omega a run for his money. Number 6. Vegeta vs Baby Gohan and Baby Goten. Dragon Ball Super is frequently criticized for how often it keeps the spotlight on Goku and Vegeta, but DBS has nothing on DBGT, an anime that's more than content to ignore the entire supporting cast at the start of the series. That said, GT does eventually start easing other members of the Dragon team into the main story, mostly by having Baby possess them. By the time Vegeta catches on that something's going on with planet Earth, both Gohan and Goten have been possessed by Baby. Vegeta puts up one of his best fights in GT, but he ultimately ends up another victim of Baby's hostile takeover. Number 5. Goku vs General Rildo. Goku's fight against Rildo midway through the Baby arc might very well be the most underrated battle in Dragon Ball GT. Rildo himself is considered a fairly unmemorable villain, and the first quarter of GT is even worse regarded than the rest of the series, but it all pays off when Goku spends the better part of 2 episodes just trading blows with the general. Both the animation and direction feel very much in line with Dragon Ball Z, marking perhaps the earliest instance where Dragon Ball GT starts to feel like a genuine successor to its predecessor anime. Four. Super Saiyan 3 Goku vs Baby Vegeta. The fact Dragon Ball GT turns Goku into a child is one of the series' most contentious decisions, but it was done as a means of keeping the franchise fresh. While this can be written off as a gimmick, Goku's small stature lends itself well to creative fight choreography that's best seen in his fight against Baby Vegeta. Super Saiyan 3 Kid Goku's design is not only savagery in pocket size, it means he's constantly zipping around his opponents in combat. SSJ3 Goku vs Baby Vegeta is a fast, frantic fight that proves there was genuine gold to mine in DBGT's premise. Number 3. Goku and Android 18 vs Super 17. The Super 17 arc is easily the worst storyline to come out of Dragon Ball GT, a mess of a saga that wastes a genuinely compelling story on some of the blandest writing in the franchise, but it at least ends on a massive high. The final fight between Goku, Android 18, and Super 17 is downright fantastic. It has no right being so good considering how poorly it's been built up all arc, but the choreography highlights just how ferocious of an opponent Super 17 is while pushing Goku to his limits. He even exhausts Super Saiyan 4 before all is said and done. The logic of Goku finishing 17 off in his base form is suspect, but it leads to a fantastic visual and gives 18 something to do after SSJ4 falters. Number 2. Goku vs Nuova Shenron. Goku's fight with Nuova Shenron at the end of Dragon Ball GT is perhaps the best representation of Goku's character by the end of the franchise. He's mature, collected, respectful, and hungry to fight strong opponents by any means necessary. When Goku meets Nuova, an evil dragon who's frankly anything but, he relishes the opportunity to fight someone so strong. In a quiet set piece with moody direction, Goku and Nuova engage in a fast-paced duel that has a surprising amount of variety in an arc that's otherwise wasted all its dragons. Nuova Shenron not only shows the full potential of the evil dragon's arc in action, he simply brings out the best in Goku's character, a rarity for GT. Number
as well.
1. Super Saiyan for Goku vs Baby Vegeta. For all of Dragon Ball GT's faults, the baby arc does at least settle on some great final fights between Goku and Baby Vegeta. Super Saiyan 3 Goku's go at things puts into perspective just how overwhelmingly powerful Vegeta's become under Baby's full control, while Super Saiyan 4 gets to indulge in some well-animated and directed catharsis. After an entire arc of Baby subduing the Dragon Team and gradually taking over the planet, Goku finally puts Baby in his place. Super Saiyan 4 not only has outstanding build-up and an even better transformation sequence, its debut fight choreography is the best to come out of Dragon Ball GT.
Goku!
He didn't even try to get out of the way.
I hope he knows what he's doing. I got him.